So it's 7:02. Let's begin. This is the March 3rd, 2025 meeting of Wakefield's Commission on Disabilities. In accordance with the recent open meeting law, I am going to go ahead and do a roll call. So when I call your name, would you just please acknowledge? So Charles Tuttle.
Here.
Paula Thompson.
Here.
Dan and Lois Benjamin.
Yeah. Here.
Janice Mirabasi.
Here.
Lorna Davidson Connolly.
Here.
Judy Tanner.
Do we have to list 5 things we've done today too?
No,
Here.
you're good.
Judy Tanner here.
Thank you, Judy. And Paul Pagliarini is absent today. We have Bill Renault as our guest. And I notice that we have 2 individuals for public participation. But before we begin that, I'd like to remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded. And I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Lois, you getting your flag?
Right here.
There we go. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we have, it looks like 2 individuals from the public, Jackie Doan and Julie S. I'm guessing Julie Scott. Are you together or are you separate?
I'm separate. Julie Scott's separate.
Okay, then Julie, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Very briefly, I sent you my email. I'm assuming you guys all read it. Thanks so much. And thanks so much for volunteering on this committee. As a teacher and as a former special ed teacher as well, I take ADA compliance and all the aspects of the laws and the intent behind all federal and state laws very seriously. I know what you'll be talking about, the Albion Street Cultural Exchange tonight. All of it's very important, but I think the part that really does not sit well with me is the town is knowingly over and over again renting out that building. And it's not setting a good example for the rest of the businesses in Wakefield. And it's also, it's setting a standard for everybody else except our community and our building. And I feel very strongly that until it's rectified, we should not be utilizing that building in any way. It's disrespectful to the intent of the law. And for people who, and we all have members in our family, and sometimes it's us, who need the standards of those laws to be upheld and respected at every possible level. So I know if you've read my email, you know of my other concerns. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. And Jackie, would you like to speak next?
In today to listen in, but thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome. So, you know, let's talk about the concern with the Albion Cultural Exchange. Bill, do you want to give us an update as to where we are with that as far as the ARPA funds and the elevator?
Sure, yeah, so we signed a contract in January to design elevator access to the 2nd floor for the building. So that is underway. I spoke with actually the designer today. I'm expecting to see at least a draft estimate and set of plans by May.
Bill, can you speak up louder, please? It's having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, sure, yeah. Is that better, Lorna?
That's a little bit better. I don't know if it's because your microphone is far away from you, but
I'll try to speak up. So yeah, so we signed a contract for the elevator installation, for the design of the elevator installation back in January. And so I spoke with the design engineer today. I'm expecting a draft estimate and plan to me by May. At this point, I also have I've also incorporated as part of our capital request, another $50,000 capital request for some work, which I'm looking at targeting for some access to the first floor. I gave you a little bit of an update last week how we were able to get an easement through the development that was going on in the back at the savings bank to give us an opportunity for a potential access through the rear of the property because we have an existing easement that's there. And then also we're evaluating access towards the front of the building. But in both scenarios, we need to make significant architectural changes to the building. So this isn't something that we can do as a fast track. So I'm looking at a bunch of different options here on that. And then with the, hopefully if there's a way to make it work with the existing 50,000 that we're going to be getting, then I'll make that happen. But yeah, I think we're going to be looking at probably more of a town meeting request or authorization. As always, I'm always going after grants as well, but I'm thinking we're probably going to need to do that. So we're probably a good year out at this point for when we can make the access happen. But I am actively working on it with my staff and myself. So
approximately how much is the design for it?
So design, we had about $75,000 for design of the elevator. So that contract was signed earlier this year. That's using capital funds. So you folks had voted to use that towards capital, that capital towards this project. I want to say in November timeframe, if memory serves. And then we had some remaining money that was left over from our transition plan. So
And how much would be the elevator itself?
elevator itself, well, that's part of the project. So he's going to give me an estimate, but I've seen for retrofits as high as $900,000 to $1 million. So I think it's going to be somewhere around that cost. So they're going to be in over the next couple of months doing measurements and then working through their design. So I should have something for you folks in a couple of meetings to talk about, kind of strategies on how we'll get it funded.
So maybe they do a town meeting article or?
I will if it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to at least go after. So the Mass Office on Disability has a $500,000 grant that they do annually. So I'm looking at that as an option. We also may go after, if it's an earmark or federal earmark or something to that effect too. We've been pretty successful with that on other projects.
Thanks, Bill. Does anybody else have any other comment?
I have more of a question. This is Janice. Has the town considered selling the building and finding something that just is more easily made accessible or already is accessible? It just seems like such a, I completely agree that we shouldn't be using the building if it's not accessible. I have pretty strong disagreement with the fact that the thank you for all the volunteers was held in that building, and which is an inaccessible building at this point in time. I don't think any town event should be held in a building that's currently inaccessible. So sort of, I just wonder, why are we pursuing this when the building could potentially be sold?
I mean, that unfortunately, I don't make that decision. So our town council has decided that this is going to be a cultural building for the community, and they want to invest dollars into it. They've already done, they've already invested some money into the first floor already. So all that stuff was done either as the time I showed up here or right around the time I started in Wakefield. So it's been, they've been making some investments periodically. So this is kind of the next phase, I would say. As for the events, I don't program it, so that's run through our recreation department as the folks that do that. And so I'm not even sure what events are held and timing of them, what the, what types of events they are, whether it's private, public, I'm not really plugged in on any of that stuff.
Nothing at all has been done on the second floor, right?
No, it's all pretty much like the old offices that used to be there. That's basically what it looks like. So I mean, our council will be looking at kind of what they want to do for the second floor. I've heard artist lofts as an option or something to that effect is what I'm thinking they may be going with. But, you know, like I said, ultimately, any change to get access into the building is gonna be it's a significant lift, but you know, when we did the transition plan, this was the highest rated priority for us, right? Because this is really the only building that we have that doesn't have the access, so you know, I'm plugging through it and working towards it.
Um, Bill, now, when the elevator goes in, it's gonna go in where the spiral staircases now. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Not correct, yeah.
So is there any way to be able to make that back entrance at least accessible by ramping it somehow, or just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that that could happen well before this elevator? Because most of the stuff is taking place on the first floor anyhow, so.
Yep.
And maybe that's what it should be, is that nothing goes above the first floor. But at least can we have some better accessibility through the back of the building?
Yeah, yeah. So the issue with it, so what we did, or what I did, is in the decision for the savings bank, I had them add an expansion to the easement that we have in the back. So right now we have like a 5-foot walkway easement essentially that goes to the building. It doesn't actually connect to the door, so it's a weird ownership situation. So to fix that issue, we condition the project so that they have to provide us access to the building, so we have full access to get to the back entrances and whatnot. So that would include a potential to kind of rework, you know, a system to get into the building. And you know, the building our building manager and I have looked at this a couple of different options and some thoughts. But in order for that to happen, the savings bank project has to start moving forward so that we get that easement. So we're kind of in a little bit of a waiting game until that happens. So as soon as we get that, I'd have an option to at least explore the back. I know the council, though, really was adamant about trying to look at the front area. So, you know, the stairway that's to the left, so you have the main entrance, there's another stairway to the left. I looked at an option there potentially, which would widen the sidewalk out, and then we'd be able to ramp in through that spot. And then I'd have to make some interior modifications with some plumbing and a bunch of other stuff to provide access to the first floor. So that's a much shorter ramp up if we were to go that route. So that's one of the things.
But that doorway, if I remember correctly, that doorway to the left that you open up, you're greeted with a set of stairs that go up to the second floor.
Yeah,
So
but
what is it, breaking
shares
a wall down or something, removing
Yeah,
that
exactly.
stairway and breaking a
You-
wall down?
You got it, exactly. Yeah, so it shares a wall with that first floor. So that would be one of the reasons that we would look, because you know, our main entrance when you come in through the main door, you know, the walkway to get, well, I should
Yeah.
say the kind of atrium or whatever you want to call it, the doorway to get through there would have to be opened up if we were to try to use the main entrance. So there's been a couple of options that we've been looking at on how to make this happen. But I mean, ultimately, all of these are, you know, it's not just probably tens of thousands. I'm looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, even just to do the first floor. So, but we, you know, again, I want to at least have options to go through the back and compare the costs and whatnot with the consultant that's working with us. So he's going to be helping me with some of the, you know, some of the options for accessing through the back and through the front to kind of evaluate, you know, cost and what makes the most sense for us.
Now, do you know what the capacity when that is fitted out, it will be?
I don't. When you mean like when they do the upstairs?
I mean, downstairs.
Downstairs there's a limit. There is a limit.
I thought it was like 52 or something.
I think it's less than that. So it's you know, that's the whole sprinkler component too. So there's an occupancy limit. So as long as it stays below that, my understanding is that was something that Ben had asked for to stay over below a certain number. So I'm not sure exactly how that whole shaped out. I thought it was like 38 is what number jumps into my head, but don't quote me on that.
Julie, you have your hand up?
Yeah, the limit's 47. The building is lacks fire suppression. There was a complaint lodged with the building inspector, the Wakefield Fire Department, and the State Fire Marshal's office. And that's why there is a restriction. The
Okay.
town has knowingly, on a number of times, and they've actually admitted it very recently at a public meeting, had far more than 47 people. It was a Christmas event for the high school. Again, I'm really strongly feeling that the town should not be renting out that building for dance classes where grandparents are coming in and picking up their kids. Something could happen. I think the town would be liable. The person who's renting the building could also be liable. We're not being honest. I want you to know there would be an added cost to add fire suppression to the building. And I'll probably be following up this meeting with an email to you as a commission to maybe write to the town council and express your concerns. And until these issues are dealt with, you could have a non-ADA compliant building with far too many people in there with a grandmother or a grandfather who doesn't know that it's not ADA compliant, have a fire issue, and then we have a problem. So I would feel much better until the town really talks about this building, which they never really did. It has, Steve Mayo said 3 town council meetings ago, it has not brought in any money for the town. It's not really something that's been talked about, and it's never met what it was intended to be. The people who were running it resigned a number of years ago. You can go and watch the meeting and listen to why they did resign. But it's just not something that I'm sure we should be spending our money on. Somebody earlier mentioned, are there buildings that would be easier to transition? And I think that's the case. You would also need to have accessible handicap parking spaces in front of this building, and we don't have that either. So I think until the town is honest with itself and the people who rent it and with the community, because most community members don't know that the fire suppression is a huge issue. It's also an issue for our fire department and our first responders. I'm not comfortable with the town using it, especially since they know the facts behind this as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Bill, there aren't any handicap spots there?
We have,
On
there
Albion?
are on the street for sure. I mean, I added one that I want to say it's maybe a space or two over from there. We have the new, I had some new curb ramps that I installed. So if you look at the road, when I
Yeah.
paved the road and did the sidewalks on it, I actually stopped before we got to the building with the anticipation that if we needed to make, a handicap space, or if we needed to remove spaces so that we could get the wider sidewalk to do the ramp, we weren't having a strained investment. So I kind of planned that out a little bit so we can work through all of these conversations and determine what the right approach is.
I think the closest handicap is probably the one in front of the item building, right on the corner.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it's on that side, Dan, or the other. I'm not positive. But there is one that's definitely in the area for sure.
Is it possible that building could be opened up with some kind of a waiver from the architectural board? I know there's a couple of restaurants in town that are open, yet they're not handicap accessible.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we could evaluate for sure. I mean, it usually comes into the historic component is usually how that happens.
Yeah.
That worked. So, I mean, looking at that building, I'm not sure that we really would hit that threshold necessarily.
And can you explain that a little bit more, Dan, when you say waiver? Because you're right, there are restaurants in town that are not handicap accessible, but that,
But there's one on Water Street that has a second floor, that the only way you can get up to it is a side stairwell. That's very steep.
Yep.
Yet it's got, I think, a waiver from the architectural board that allow them to run it.
Yep, you can get them for sure.
and there are restaurants on Main Street that are not are not accessible. There's steps up.
Yeah, I just hate to see type of building in such a small space with a crowd of people in it. And they did have a fire a couple of months ago, right? I think the second building from it.
Next door, yeah.
There are also businesses that are inaccessible. And, they have to have been grandfathered in order to exist. But if you're doing massive amounts of
Yeah.
renovation to a building, then Bill knows that,
That's what triggers it. Yeah.
that will trigger it.
Like if we were to upgrade the upstairs, that's why we're evaluating all this stuff and looking at it. So, that definitely does trigger it. And then, of course, we have our transition plan. So not everything in town that we own obviously is 100% accessible. So we do a transition plan looking at, different pieces that we need to make upgrades for. So because codes change, things are, we're mandated, to provide the access to folks. So we do that. That's why we have the transition plan that I'm working on. And then we would have that as a, kind of a priority matrix essentially. And, we've talked about the building component of it already. And this was our highest priority. So it's definitely at the front of my list for sure.
The bank building behind it, how does that stand? When is that supposed to be completed? I noticed lately they just blocked it off the parking lot.
That's news to me, so I haven't heard a thing on it. So we haven't had a kickoff meeting yet on it. Typically, the building permit plans would come to my office for review. So I haven't seen any of that yet. You know, and then I condition these things for, you know, depending on what the, what the need is for the community. So if we have certain things that we need, you know, there are timings within the development of the project that have to be met, like metrics that would, so in this case, they'll have a requirement to get an easement to us prior to occupancy. So before they can move in, we'll have an easement there that allows us the access and whatnot. And they're gonna assist a little bit with some of the construction. So we have a couple of things that they'll be doing to help us.
But they haven't really started anything yet, then it sounds like they're.
Right, and it's for, you know, I mean, for us right now, it's a little premature, you know, without having that easement squared away, and the, you know, the contractor obviously is gonna wait, I should say the owner is gonna do that, after he gets, you know, going with his construction, so. But we have set some wheels in motion here to make that access as an option.
Bill, the easement that is, has been negotiated with the savings bank folks.
Yep.
That is, you said it's 5 feet width, it's a 5-foot width?
We have one now. So back when it was, I guess it would have been from when it was Gas and Light that owned it. There was an easement that was granted way back. So back in the, I want to say like in the 30s or 40s, I believe. So it was a 5-foot walkway easement. And then what that does is it kind of just goes right to the face of the building, like by one of the windows. It doesn't really, there's no door, there's like nothing there really. So I don't know what purpose it really served at the time. So what I did as part of the decision was to allow for, you know, kind of where the entrance is in the back. So they have that doorway and that little, you know, that little area. We would be getting an easement through that whole entire area so that we'd be able to make, you know, ramping and whatever we would need to get in.
And
What
the
I'm
space,
thinking, like what we would end up probably doing, Janice, honestly, is that we would have you know, we would have like a new door that would be put in that would allow for us to get up to the first floor and you know, go right into it. I don't want to ramp on the inside. I don't think that makes a ton of sense. So they have some new, you know, they have some newer products that basically they look like stairs. You can have like a couple of stairs, but then it flattens out when you need it to act as a lift. So there's a company that was actually out of Sweden, I think it was, that has moved to the US with a product that I like a lot. So that's an indoor-outdoor scenario. It's pretty cool looking product. So that would be something that I think would fit here. It's just you know, dollars and cents and what makes the most sense for us and what, you know, obviously the
and that would be, Bill, that would be,
with the building.
that would be an indoor product?
It's actually both. It can be indoor or outdoor.
But are you thinking that you're gonna have it completely ramped to the outside, permanently accessible?
I'm
And
not
then
sure yet. I'm not
Okay.
sure yet at this point. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've looked at it as a couple of different options, and you know, at this point, I'm not sure which one would make the most amount of sense. You know, kind of having this because it can be, it looks almost like a set of stairs, but then they drop down. Then the stairs will drop down, turn into like a flat platform, and then it raises up. So you know that can be done outside, which might make the most sense so that you're not losing space in the interior. But that's just
That sounds like something that wouldn't work real well in the winter. Just throwing that out there. I've seen, you know.
We'd be maintaining it, right? So, I mean, there's nothing that says there's not a roof or something over it too. So, you know, we could, there are ways to do that, but they can be used outside. So they have like an outside version and an inside version.
I'm a little skeptical.
I'm hearing that.
Yeah. And I've seen so many ramps where, you know, we discussed this about snow plowing. People just plow over and they plow the snow onto the ramp, or they shovel, but you know, there's water coming down onto the ramp and it creates an ice sheet. There's just, so I don't know, the concept of somebody being able to be present to operate that sounds a little like there could run into problems.
Does anybody have any more questions or discussion? So it sounds like we'll hear further from Julie in a letter making a request for us to reach out to town council.
I'm in a meeting, Cal.
So at this point, let's, once that's in receipt, we can discuss again, exactly how we want to proceed on this. Unless anybody has any other comments. All right, then I'm going to move on to the next item, which was Janice. You had communication with WCAT.
Yes, this was in my finally writing up all the minutes for the meetings.
I saw them.
And I apologize for all of the lateness. I noticed that I was supposed to have contacted WCAT in regard to potentially making some kind of presentation or video that they would produce for our local cable TV on access to voting, but it's more specifically on use of the AutoMark machine. So started with meeting, and thank you, Dan, for the information, with Ian McDermott. I met with him last Thursday, and they're very willing to do something along those lines. I talked about the Disability Law Center training video that I saw on the AutoMark machine. I don't think it's actually their video. I think it's a national video that they used at their training session. So I contacted the person that I'd been in touch with about assessing our polling place, and I got a bounce back message. So that person's not there anymore. So my next step is to contact them and find out if it's a possibility, if that video that training video that they use is in the public domain. I have a feeling it probably is.
Yes, yeah.
So WCAT would be able to take it, use bits and pieces of it as they wanted to. We also talked about the importance of making it local, and talking to Betsy Sheeran, which will also, I will simultaneously do that. As Ian wisely said, he won't take a step forward without us making sure that Betsy's in the loop. So I'll set up a time to chat with Betsy and talk about what it is that we're thinking about doing. The point of the whole project is to make people aware of where the AutoMark machine is, that it's available for use by anyone who wants to use it, and that their vote is private and as independent as it possibly can be for that particular person. So we'll look into that. And I can't remember, Bill, speaking of, I think that I just didn't look when I was there for the election in November, but did we get a low voting booth? I don't actually even know what they're called. They're really, I think a voting booth.
The regular voting booth, right? Yeah, we have a couple of them.
But we have some lower ones. Okay. And did they put one in the room? Because there was definitely not one in the last election before that. I looked.
Yeah, Betsy had told me she did, so.
Oh, great, good.
Yep.
Okay, so we do have them.
Yeah,
They
we
just
definitely
haven't
have them.
been
Yeah, I don't know if it
deployed.
got missed in the deployment or whatever, but they definitely have them, so.
So that's, and I just want to throw out to anybody, if you're interested in working on this, when we get to the point of working on it with WCAT, please let me know. Would be thrilled to have anybody else join in, and, could get to the point where we look at a script all together or something. So I'm not really sure what the steps are, but I'll keep the group involved, and just let me know if you want to join in at any point.
When would our next election be?
April 20-something.
Oh,
It is
so
in April of this year, right?
yeah, we won't have enough time to, I doubt, to pull it together.
Probably not for this one, but we'll, it's a fairly forever thing. It's great that we have one place where all of the voting takes place, because if we were still out in the smaller community places, I think we would be running into many more problems than we saw very minor problems at our polling place that could be easily fixed. So we're in very good shape compared to, I think, a lot of other places, so.
Agreed.
Can I ask the question, is that like an Optalex? Does it speak in different languages also?
That's a different.
Not that I know of. That's an excellent question. That's a great question. You know, we'll have to ask that.
I know
Thank-
a machine in Optilex and it speaks in like 5 or 6 different languages.
I don't know the answer to that question. I
We have
don't remember that
English
being,
learners.
I don't remember that being part of the training, but I may have just not remembered it. I'll find out.
Janice, if you're interested, I would be interested in assisting with WCAT. If,
That'd be great, Charles.
absolutely, because I have some background in television myself, so I
Excellent.
be interested in helping out with
Hmm.
I
need to
would
connect with
welcome
them
that.
anyway.
Great,
You're
I would
thanks,
welcome that.
Charles.
Thank you. I will make sure I keep you in all of the loops.
Janice, when you're finding out about the video that the national video, whatever, did you find out whether it's interpreted? Because if
I don't know that
WCAT is
either.
going to be showing it to the public of the community,
Mhm.
it would be nice to know if it's already interpreted.
That would be valuable
Yes.
to know. That's an excellent question. And if it has not been, then we certainly would need to get an interpreter to interpret it as we are doing it. So
Hmm.
great question. Thank
And then
you.
it could be filmed when the interpreter is doing it so that it could be
Absolutely.
used again.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the Disability Law Center would probably love that.
Which asked me, some of the ballots, are they in Spanish or French?
I do not know.
Especially if there's a question on the ballot.
They definitely have all alternative text for sure. They definitely do. They have it in other, I know they have it in Spanish. And my guess, I think Betsy told me it. I mean, she has it in, I want to say it's like 6 or 7 languages. I was surprised. So,
Interesting.
yeah, things you don't think about, you know?
Well, there's more and more English learners out there, especially in schools, so.
Well, we can get, that might be an important piece to add into this, even if it's not a disability issue specifically, it's an ability to cast your vote issue. We should make sure we talk about that.
Okay, good discussion. Bill, we started to talk a little bit about our additional ARPA funds.
No ARPA, it's capital funds. So
Okay.
remember last year we started having a capital line item each year. So started that up last year. We're looking to be funded at the same level as last year. So 50,000 will be proposed at this point. My understanding is it's still in as we will be going to capital planning. I think Joe might even be there tonight, as a matter of fact. So
Okay, so then we need to start thinking about how we want to spend.
yeah, I think that's what we did
Spend.
last year, right? So we kind of had to, come up with some ideas, give us some thoughts.
Well, I wonder when you're able to provide the transition plan that may have some items that that would be of interest to us.
It definitely will. Yeah, we can, I mean, I'm within the month or two, I'll have that squared away. So,
Okay, sounds good.
Marie, last year we had talked about maybe a couple more accessible picnic tables
mhm.
near the lake. So that might be something.
Yep. Yeah, so that would be approved through the town council. So they have a furniture by the lake, depending on where we're looking to do it. So just keep that in mind as another step for me, but I think we were talking by the Colonel Conley playground, right? That was the thought, Judy, right?
Exactly, yes.
Mhm.
There's already some parking there. There's the playground is there. It seems to be a place that would be attractive for something like that.
There was also some discussion about the walking paths over at Hall Park. Now, Bill, you're doing a lot of work there with the new bathrooms and everything. Is there a need to do anything more there?
Yeah, I have it as a priority. I mean, I've heard from a few folks, actually one that's on the call today with us.
Right.
So, but yeah, we're looking at it. I've included that in the capital plan too. So
Okay,
if we get it all, I'll be doing the pass. I wanted to do it with the funding I had for the bathroom, but I ran out of money. So unfortunately, I won't be able to make it happen with that, but I have pricing for it, and hopefully we're successful getting more sidewalk money, which I would think we will. I mean, at some point, the council's usually pretty supportive of it anyway, and hopefully the capital planning committee will be.
okay. And then another item, we had talked about this back in October, Judy, when we talked about the pathways near the bandstand, but of course, when Bill investigated, it was quite costly. And Bill, you said that you would try to see if there were any less expensive alternatives.
Yep, and that's still on my list. I've peeked around a little bit, but again, it's in the tens of thousands. So if that's something that we want to maybe look to deploy, we could do something like that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I'll include that as an option too. But I mean, again, I don't think we really, at this point, I don't know if there's appetite for trying to, to make it accessible, because then we'd be looking at paving, and we don't want to be paving that path. The path's too far away from the bandstand, so we got into all of those conversations.
Right. Okay, and I got some comments back in regard to the accomplishments. If you don't have any further comments, I'm just going to go with that list that I had sent out around via email and get that off to Sherry so that she can publish it. And I kind of skipped over it. Does anybody, we prepared to approve the meeting minutes. Janice did a lot of work on getting October, November, January, and February done. Can we go ahead and someone make a motion to approve those 4 months of meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. And
Second that.
thank you. Okay. So that's October 7, 2024, November 4th, 2024, January 6, 2025, February 3rd, 2025.
And Marie, I wanted to give you a thank you for the work that you did to go through everything and get our accomplishments. I know that wasn't simple.
Oh, no, it's Janice, we have awesome meeting minutes. So when we have those awesome minutes, it's not a big deal at all. So thank you, welcome.
Seeing where that's a vote, do you think we ought to?
Yes, I was just going to say all in favor. Is there anyone opposed? No. Okay, great. Thank you.
Marie, Julie has her hand raised.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, Julie. I'm
Hi.
sorry.
Sorry again. As far as the town common near the gazebo, just keep in mind, there are bodies buried under there. It used to be a cemetery. So you would
Oh,
have to
did
check
not-
there are bodies under there.
Okay, go on
Jimmy
that.
Thank you for the heads
type.
up on that. That's
So you would
that's
have to,
awesome.
Jimmy Hoffa's not there.
That's
You would
good.
have to hopefully check with the historical commission and just keep in mind that's within the historic district as well.
No, that's very interesting to know. I did not know that.
I'll let Nancy know.
I'm sure she knows.
That's what she wants.
I don't think we're going that deep though.
Oh, no.
Uh,
Now we're definitely not.
You might hear a scream.
So it looks like we've gone through our agenda items. Is there anything else that anybody wanted to discuss that maybe wasn't covered here?
So I did want to just briefly go over one of the meetings that I attended that Janice had pointed out to us. If we
Sure.
have a moment.
Yes, we have plenty of time.
Okay, so this, I have it in front of me. It's the Health and Disability Program in collaboration with the Division of Community Engagement. And the title of it is Breaking Barriers, Navigating Health Inequities at the Intersection of Black Identity and Disability. So I attended this in February. And thank you, Janice, for pointing it out, because I personally wasn't aware of this group. So there is a very nice website that I'm sure, Janice, you have this website, but if not, I can just send it to you for the minutes. So it's called the Health and Disability Partnership. And evidently they run about 4 of these meetings per year, and they're about an hour and a half each. And it was a very nice, nice group. There were individuals that spoke about their own personal experiences regarding either themselves or family members, loved ones that experienced a variety of various disabilities. And then there was a quote that I loved that I wrote down, because I really thought this was nice. That one of the speakers said that their goal is to inspire others with chronic illnesses to have confidence in themselves and not let their disability define who they are. So I did want to just point out this partnership, because if we can add it to maybe the minutes next time, Janice, and if anybody in the community in this group, it seems like they welcome pretty much anybody who would like to be a part of the partnership.
Absolutely.
To join in. And all you have to do is go to the website. It lists a nice variety of different things that they keep everybody up to date with important issues. And then this was the first meeting that I had gone to regarding this, but I assume that some of them are similar, where people talk about their own experiences. So I just wanted to point it out. It was a very, very nice group.
A great group. It's from the Department of Public Health, and Kimberly Worset is the person who runs the meetings. I can share her address, it's public information, with folks. I think that the partnership has been going on, I'm going to say, for at least 12 years at this point in time, maybe longer. And they will sometimes bring in a presenter. But it is definitely a group of nothing about us without us. So it's a pretty interesting and diverse group of people, and they just have a lot of really great knowledge to share, and knowledge about their own experiences and the experiences of their family members. So it is quarterly meetings. I think that I just got a message that the next meeting was, oh no, there's a meeting in March that will take place later this month. It's usually from 11:30 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday. And it has been that way for a while. So anybody who wants to participate is welcome to participate anytime. You could go to 1 meeting a year or 0 meetings a year, and then you'll still be on the mailing list, which will get you to a whole bunch of, you get some very interesting emails. And a lot of the things that I've shared out come from Kimberly when she sends the information out to folks. So it's just really, it's a very cool group. So.
And is it mainly focused on health issues?
It is, because it's run by the State Department of Public Health.
Okay, yeah.
They have a program that has been called a variety of things over the years. It's usually something related to, it's usually a health and disability program. It was actually called Disability and Health to start with, but now it's health and disability. The health part is first, really broad range of health topics though. Mental health, physical health, all different kinds of issues. They also have in the past operated under a grant from CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. that's where the partnership started. I have not the faintest idea if those grants are going to continue, because so many of the grants are being cut back, and Massachusetts isn't on the good list right now of states. So we'll see what happens, but it has been CDC funded. The positions of the people have had funding through CDC, and the CDC will decide what things they want to focus on for this particular 2-year period or 3-year period or 4-year period. And they will define and redefine things as administrations change differently, but it's a pretty good committed group of people. It includes parents of children with disabilities, all ages of people who are their quote unquote children, adult children, as well as little children. So anyway, I'd be more than happy to share. And if you just find that you just want to pop in and listen to a meeting on a Thursday, you'd be more than welcome.
And that was one of the things that I had as a takeaway as well, Janice, is that everyone is welcome. A person doesn't have to identify with a disability. They don't have to have a loved one with it's everybody is welcome to participate.
Yeah. If you care about the issue, the topic, or any person at all anywhere, or you just care about people in general, even if they're not people that are in your life, you're right. I'm glad that you got that sensation from that. That's really good to hear.
Could I ask the question of Bill, kind of off the subject, but I know with the commuter rail, we haven't griped about it in over a year now, but what's the update on the commuter rail as far as the rail raised platform? And also, I know in Reading, they're talking a lot about another turnaround or spare line above Reading. Will that increase the traffic into Wakefield?
Okay, so which question do you want to go first? So so I've
Either.
been doing some
You
training.
got the best answer.
All right, well, I'll start with the platform. So so basically I've talked to the folks at the T. They have an ability to do like kind of a quick hit kind of platform, installation that they do. But their request was that we would move and shut down Chestnut Street and use that as the location for it, which is not something that Steve was really a big fan of starting up and going, and I don't see that as a viable option at this point. But I mean, this is kind of more of an ad hoc conversation during some of my train horn work that I do with the T and with the FRA.
Because Reading has that platform right next to almost, I think it's, what's that street, Lowell Street?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that area, yeah.
And I know talk in Reading is that they're gonna put either another turnaround, and so I don't know if that would increase the traffic.
When you say turn, what do you mean by turnaround?
It's either a spur line or a turnaround for the commuter rail above
I haven't
street.
heard about any of that. So that's I'm not plugged in on that at all.
Right, I think it was on the news, right, Dan, because people are complaining about idling or something like that when the train turns.
And as it is now, I think the what do they call it? The Downeaster uses our tracks here in Wakefield on weekends.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get that platform eventually.
I would hope so. I mean, their main
We'll get the folks school to build it. Not $12 million.
With some 2x4s, Dan, and take care of it with me. That's what we're gonna do.
Sometimes it sounds like it's just easier to try to do that
Yeah, right, I believe it.
than the whole politics of it all.
Yeah, I didn't understand why that had to happen that way. Like I think that it's not an either or proposition is kind of how I left it with them.
So they're saying in order to do what they want to do, they would want to shut down that portion of Chestnut Street.
Yeah, and I think that's a non-starter for Wakefield, right? I mean, we need that, so.
It's already one lane at this point in time.
It is, and it has to stay that way for us, otherwise we're blowing horns. You remember when that happens?
Right.
Let's start back.
Right. And as somebody who's massively affected by that, it being one lane, I would rather have that than the folks around having to listen to that train horn at midnight.
Oh,
I can barely hear it. But a lot of people, it would like knock you out of your shoes. It's so loud.
Fire routes, I believe, too. So
I'm sorry, Jen, what was that? What was that, Dan?
I believe it's one of the main fire routes going to the west side.
Mm-hmm.
You'd only have Albion Street and Prospect, Broadway, that'd be the three, kind of far apart.
Where you can get up, you just can't get down right now. So if they, that's a good, really good point. If they shut that off, it's really out of the way with with traffic lights.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I think Bill's got something to do with North Ave corridor anyway coming up too.
I do. So we have, yeah, I'm going after a study, some money for a study or for design to look at it. So when with the MBTA communities thing went through, it opened up a pot of money to us. So I'm in on that pot of money as well.
And that will be for crossing and things there to make that
It would
more
be a full
safe.
corridor study, but my intention is to align all the signals so that they all talk to each other.
That'd be good.
Yeah, so
Is-
that's what the intent
Is it that is the issue that where the amount of platform that we have currently between Broadway and Chestnut just is not
long enough
enough to
Mhm.
put in? Because I went in from West Concord the other day. I went into Boston and they had a platform and it didn't seem like it was any larger than our platform. Didn't seem like it was any longer than ours,
Yeah,
but
it,
I could
it,
be
it
wrong
does go
there.
a little bit longer. I mean,
Well-
as
Mhm.
that was the town engineer there for 10 years, so I know that platform very well and had to do a
Mhm.
crossing by it. So
Would have to be a dual one for inbound and outbound too.
that's how they
That's
do it.
true.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, and the other side's not very wide.
Yeah, I mean that's in in that I'm not going to get into the Concord stuff, but I mean that blocks the intersection as a whole thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Down too.
Okay, well, great discussion tonight as always.
Oh, Maria, I just wanted to add
Yes.
something in. I can't remember if we discussed this or not, but we mentioned it that there's snow removal and accessibility guidelines for the state of Massachusetts were updated in January of this year, and I'm going to throw that website into the minutes so that people can go. It's just on the, mass.gov website, snow removal and accessibility, and it's I printed out, it's 6 pages of information about snow removal and who's responsible for what, including if you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, if you're a business. And then it also talks about who you can make a complaint to if you are in all of that. So, and if you've got like a car that's interfering with snow removal, who you can, what you can do about that and all of that. So anyway, I'll throw that in. You'll have the website. So should you wish to not, if you wish to see what it is that municipalities and everybody are required to do, it's there and it was updated in, I believe, in January of this year.
Do you mind sending that to me directly as well?
Yep, I'll send that to you.
Great.
I'm sorry, I lied. It was last updated on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025.
A lot more recent.
It was even more recent than January. And it talks about why accessible snow removal is important, legal obligations, rules for adequate snow removal, what you can do if you can't shovel snow because of your disability, accessibility violations in snow removal, and best practices for snow removal and accessibility. I thought I had sent that to you. And I thought that you said that you would share it with folks, but I will send it out to everybody and I will include you on that. Bill, I'd be happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
Well, I know the senior center in the high school also has snow angels out there, somebody that needed, plowing or the front walk.
Great program.
That's an awesome thing.
Yeah, it is. It's really helpful, especially this year. I'm sure it was helpful to a lot of folks.
The snow shoveling that we used to do after a snowstorm. The 5 feet of snow, we used to walk up the school.
Both ways, uphill.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know. We haven't seen snow like that in a while, but
That's okay with me.
agreed. I agree. Global warming works for me sometimes.
One of the problems this year is that it just kept on melting and freezing, so we had big, thick ice too,
Oh, yeah.
to have to deal with.
There's ice
Can't get up off the
everywhere.
sidewalk.
Got
Mhm.
50 degrees for the rest of the week, right? So we should be done with all that, hopefully.
Yeah. Until the snowstorm that we get in April
Hey, come on.
Right.
Do that
Or
stuff.
May.
or May, yeah.
We
Let's
did, we
hope
got one
not.
in May one year, yep.
We did. We got a foot of snow one May 1st, I recall, but not this year. We're done.
Soon now they'll be putting out those cones on North Avenue.
We'll be plowing them right up.
Have to laugh. Only
Oh,
you
you
do.
do.
Okay, does anyone have anything else? Otherwise, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
We've had a lot of accomplishments over the last year through this board and everything, and a lot of them go through Bill. He has accomplished those through the town for
It
us.
certainly has, yeah.
Just like to give him some praise on that.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Hey.
I think we work really well together. Yeah, we're really a great team. A lot of good ideas and a lot of good implementation.
And a lot of knowledge. It's, Bill, your knowledge of the law and engineering is incredibly helpful. 'Cause I don't think any of the rest of us are engineers. I don't know.
And he's got a musical talent too.
I do. Yeah, I do. Yes.
Oh, who knew?
Bring my kazoo next month.
He's the fifth Beatle.
I get to do this one. I actually get to sit in my studio for this one, so it's nice.
There
I
you
get to
go.
stare at my instruments instead of playing them while I'm here talking to you. So it's good.
Now you can go and relax. Thank you for spending your evening with us.
No, I'm happy to be here. Happy to help. All right.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And someone second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Paula. So let's see, our next meeting will be, wow, April 7, it looks like. So we will see you all then. Please forward any agenda items that might come along in the meantime. And we'll see you next month. Thank you again for coming.
Take
Good
care.
night.